7:15, almost 7:16 on a beautiful Tuesday morning. Sam Simmons is here.
Hello, good morning.
Well, how's it going with the police?
Well, I think everything is going well. We're transitioning into spring, and that's a good thing, although at 43 degrees this morning, didn't really feel like I had to break out the windbreaker again. But, yeah, school, is going to be winding down here shortly, and then we'll be...
you got 23 more days?
Yeah, we'll be transitioning very soon into the summer months, and if you've paid attention, the roads are already filling up with vehicles with pulling boats and camper trailers and RVs,
Should have been
motorhomes.
Interstate 155 or 40 or 24.
Oh, listen, I drove
69,
to last week. I drove to Houston, which is about
boy.
9.5 hours from here, and saw lots of down there. You get to Houston and everything has greened up like it's going to be here in about another month. I mean, it's fairly green now, but it still hasn't completely come out. But down there, it's been
green.
Warm for some time.
Same thing. Middle Tennessee is just spectacular right now.
Yeah, I bet it's a beautiful. That's a beautiful part of the country, isn't it?
It really is, and some people that seen my post on Facebook, some of the little farms down there in the barns and little farmhouses, I'd stop and pull up. I'd take a bunch of pictures of just barns and farmland.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff's passing. You just who's building small barns for farms anymore? Really. In
one barn, we were on a side road between Leapers Fork, Tennessee, and Murfreesboro, just on a little county road. Stopped to take a picture of a barn, and the horse stuck his head out.
Really?
I got a picture. It's just,
well, I know that there are still people building barns, but they're like these pole barn, metal things, and you just don't see
the ones that were built.
The old wooden,
even before the Second World War,
Yeah, and you went to Nashville, is that right?
Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro. Yeah.
Well, it's probably good to get out.
It was fun.
It's it's always good to get out of town for a few days, but I always like coming back home too.
It was good
with the lifestyle we have.
I have to say,
here.
Talking about policemen, I wanted to take Highway 60 west out of Paducah, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy going across the Ohio Mississippi River, and the 60 West Bridge was closed, and the sign was a little bit confusing. It says use I-57 South, but all the signs said 57 North. Okay, so where's the South? How do you get to I-57 South?
Right.
There's an Illinois State Trooper right there, and he was making a turn, and I flagged him down, and he pulled over, and I got out, and we talked for a minute. Super nice guy.
Awesome.
Super nice. I said, yes, sir. Can I help you? I said, officer, I've seen the sign, blah, blah, blah. He explained, oh, yeah. What you do, come out here, turn right, go all the way down past the stoplight, and you'll find I-57 and you junction north and south, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I got a nice tour of Carroll, Illinois yesterday, which I really didn't want to do.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, but at least he was courteous and nice.
Very nice gentleman. Very nice gentleman.
And 99% of the police are. I mean, that's what's a shame.
And he seemed thrilled to help.
Yeah, sure.
He seemed, oh, cool.
I mean, we get flagged down all the time, and that's part of what we do. It's the there's the protect side and the serve side, and that's part of the service that we do. And that's what I think is so egregious about a lot of the recent media that you're hearing on the police. It's it's focusing almost 100% of the media's attention on 1% of law enforcement, completely. To the only good stuff that you really see about the police is either online because pro law enforcement folks are posting it, are putting in good stories. If it wasn't for the internet balancing out the mainstream media, you would think that all cops were stormtroopers that just can't wait to violate your rights, and it's just not that way.
I saw a video of a state trooper. I'm for some reason Michigan comes to mind. And it's alongside an interstate. And of course, he's behind the lady. The lady's African-American.
Yeah.
He's Caucasian. Blue lights, red lights are flashing. She had a flat tire in the left front.
Yeah.
So, it's not the safest place to change a tire alongside any interstate.
Right.
Or basically any highway. But he was there. She was out of the way. He was changing the tire real quick, put the spare on, helped her out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you need to call the police to change a flat tire. He just happened to be there to help.
Sure.
And it's...
Yeah,
but that didn't make NBC News.
It's a shame. No. It's if it right now it seems like for the mainstream media, and the big outlets, CNN and AS or ABC, NBC, CBS, they're only interested in the bad stories. Very seldom do
What Don Henley say? Give me your dirty laundry.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's kind of, I know that, you used to hear it, that's what sells papers, but that's what apparently provides for sponsors, because that's mostly what we see now is the negative, when there's so much so many more good things that are going on that just don't make the papers, that don't make the nightly news. And it's really a shame, because the police officers that have acted poorly, for example, in South Carolina, where the man was shot in the back as he was running away. Suspend that for a second. Why was he running away? That man would be alive today if he had just sat in his car and gotten his ticket.
Exactly.
But he took off running. Now, does that make what that police officer did right? I don't think so. Should he try to take the taser? No. Should he have ran? No. But that's, the officer still made a horrible decision, and he's paying for it. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, that's what you don't hear about. You don't hear about the conduct of the people that have had their rights violated, supposedly. You don't hear about what starts it off. All of the high-profile cases in the last few months has usually started out with someone who has been contacted by the police, who resists, who won't comply, out of hand. And that leads to a situation where an officer must make a use of force decision. How about this? What if those people didn't put those officers in a use of force decision situation? Mm-hmm. I'd like to back that train up a little bit and ask people, okay, what's going on? Everybody's hating on the bad police officer that shot the guy in the back, which is, and he certainly deserves, I think, the legal ramifications of what's happening. But at the same time, I don't hear anybody saying, well, why did you run? Why did you swing at the officer? Why did he try to take the taser? Why did he run away after the officer had pursued him? And, it all comes down to personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. And in our society, personal responsibility and the public's demand that personal responsibility be the final arbiter of what's right and wrong has just fallen by the wayside. Nowadays, as you know, if the story doesn't fit a certain narrative, it's not talked about. And so the narrative right now that a lot of the mainstream media seems to be interested in is bad cops violating people's rights, especially if race is involved. So,
in my opinion, I think because of the Obama administration, mm-hmm. that race relations have been more intensified because, it started in Ferguson, Missouri.
Right.
And Al Sharpton comes in and opens his mouth. The president starts yapping about it,
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah. When he doesn't really know anything about it. Has no clue what in the Sam Hill he's talking about. Wasn't there. Hasn't talked to the chief of police. Hasn't interviewed the supervisor, of that officer. Doesn't know. And just speaking off the cuff. And we know, he who was the black professor that was breaking into his own home. Yeah. How would the police know that? And so the president says, well, they acted stupidly. Well, no, you spoke stupidly because you didn't know.
Remember they invited that guy into D.C. for a beer.
Yeah. It's like, excuse me, Mr. President, but you're speaking stupidly because you don't know what you're talking about. If you don't know the facts,
presidential matter.
No, if you don't know the facts of a certain situation, keep your trap shut until you know what you're talking about, and so you don't look stupid. And that's just a shame, that he would immediately take sides of an issue that he has no idea what the actual facts are. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot in our day. And then this is my personal opinion. Maybe I should have started that out this way. The opinions expressed on this program are specifically my
disclaimer.
own. Yeah, I'm not speaking for the city or any government officials, but it's it seems to me that there's a whole lot of blame being placed on the police, especially in matters where race is concerned, and it's completely one-sided. For example, some of the statistics that are cited, Dale, that we heard out of Ferguson, talking about police officers, 90-something% of arrests, in this part of Ferguson have been African American males or African Americans. Well, what they fail to tell you is that particular area, that particular precinct, is inhabited by over 90% African American population. So guess what? It's like if you go be a police officer in England, over 90-something% of the people you arrest are going to be Brits. I mean, that's just the way it works. It's like going to South Louisiana and then people accuse you of just arresting Cajuns. Well, if that's where you are, that's the people you're going. Just like right now, I can tell you, I've been working in this town now almost 26 years.
Yeah.
I have arrested in this town, and I've arrested over those years, if counting tickets and physical arrests, thousands of people over, over 2.5 decades. I guess I am a racist, and I do not like white people because 99% of the people that I have taken into custody as a police officer in this town have been white. So I guess I'm a Caucasian hater. By the way, if I know you can't see on the radio, but I'm about as white people come, So, it's just this whole mantra that doesn't really take into account the actual facts on the ground. And that's what I think feeds a false narrative.
Yeah. Hold that thought. Going to take the news break. More with Sam Simmons right after this. Stick around. We got the news for you. 7:34 on a beautiful April 21st. A little bit chilly yet. It's going to warm up, looks like. Beautiful day.
Yes, it is. It is beautiful. Where we left off, the segue I wanted to make was to talk about, there's a particular radio show, talk show guy that you hear use the term low information voter. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, particularly on social media, you'll see what they call a meme, which is just a little thought along with a picture. And a lot of times it's way tilted, out of reality. And I saw something the other day that somebody sent to me on my Facebook, and it said, "Isn't this interesting?" And what it said, United States police, capitalists police, kill its own citizens at a rate of 100 times more than any other Western civilized country. Now, to the low information voter, to the simpleton that can't read past the reality of, take for example, size and population, and then it went on. That sounds like a horrible statistic, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, U.S. police kill their own citizens. Now, when we say killings, we're talking about justifiable deaths. For example, in the United States in 2013, there were 461 justifiable homicides, justifiable police killings. Robbers, rapists, people who are shooting at the police, who are using knives, who are trying to run you down, whatever. 461 in 2013. So what this person who made this meme or this little paragraph did was they took that 461 and compared it to other Western civilized democracies, such as Germany, France, Sweden, Belgium, and England, and said, look at how much, the police, my God, they're bloodthirsty. 461, and then they listed the police killings of those countries. For example, England, less than 10, let's say, or 20.
Do the police
Belgium,
even carry a gun in England?
Well, there you go. They don't even have the right to. France, for example, their killing rate was much lower than 461. But what they failed to tell you is these countries, their populations are so out of whack with the United States and the freedoms that we have. For example, comparing Germany to the United States is a joke when it comes to population and law enforcement statistics. The United States has 312 million people in it. You know how many Germany has? 80 million people.
Oh, my goodness.
France, they want to compare us to France all the time.
75% smaller?
66 million people. You like the people that love socialized medicine. You hear them compare the United States with Sweden. Look at the medical care you get in Sweden. Well, what those clowns don't recognize is Sweden. You know how many people Sweden has? 9 million people. 9 million. That's Sweden's population.
That's smaller than New York City.
What? There's that many people at the mall in Dallas, for crying out loud. 9 million people in Sweden, and they want to compare that to a country who has a healthcare system that has to care for 312 million people. Belgium, that's another Western country they like to cite. Belgium has 11 million people, And then, of course, England.
New York City population 2013, 8.4 million people.
Yeah, that's Sweden. I mean, Sweden only has 3 times the population of Arkansas. Arkansas is a little over 3 million people. So you talk about comparing apples to oranges, and then our sister country right across the pond, England, they want to talk about, look at the police deaths in England versus the United States. You know how many people England has? 53 million people.
Oh, my goodness.
So we've got, in many cases here, most cases, over 300 or 400 times the amount of people that we have to police, that we have to care for, that we have to provide infrastructure for. So these people that want to compare us to other civilized Western countries, and they pick out these little bitty European countries, my gosh, 2 or 3 of these will fit in Texas.
Yeah.
So it's just not any comparison at all, and it's not helpful to the conversation whatsoever. So if you want to, compare law enforcement styles in different countries, I think you ought to compare apples to apples. Yeah. And comparing us to Belgium with 11 million people is not it.
If you look at New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago, if I round them off to the next highest, you'd be 8, 12, be 15 million people.
Yeah, 15 million people.
If you took those 3 American cities.
Yeah. And so, it's amazing to hear people say, well, look, you can, be treated. They forget to tell you that 60% of these people's in most of these Central European countries and Western European countries, that in some cases over 60% of their salary goes to taxes, but they love to laud their wonderful healthcare systems where you can go get a broken leg fixed for free. Well, that's just great. But it's a lot easier to manage what amounts to really the population of a small U.S. state versus over 300 million people. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that many and you have the freedoms that we have, you're going to have a different style of law enforcement. That's just the way it is. And to be as massive as this country is in geography, I mean, I'm sorry, but the police cannot protect you everywhere, always, and at all times. I mean, for example, take our own geography right here. If you need a police officer in an emergency situation in Big Flat, Arkansas, how long do you think it's going to take to get an officer there?
Oh boy, it could take 20 minutes.
It could take up to 20 minutes. Now, I'm not the sheriff. I don't know what the response time is, and I'm sure that
they try
to get down there as quick as they can. Sure, yeah. But if someone's breaking into your home and they're armed and they're intent on killing you, raping you, robbing you, whatever it may be, let me tell you, 5 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah,
and you can dial 911, and that's what you should do. But the responsibility of protecting yourself is going to be yours until the police can get there. Mm-hmm. So
that's why you'll see a lot of clips on social media. Permit to carry guy holds suspect until police arrive.
Yeah.
And you see him laying there, spread eagle on the parking lot, and with a gun pointed to him. He hasn't fired. He hasn't done anything but say, "Okay, if you blink, you're going to be in pain."
Well, see, this is what really gets my goat sometimes. The leftists and the progressives and the anti-gun snatching liberals in our society don't want to to admit the good things that private citizens carrying firearms. For example, in Europe, in my wife's country of the Czech Republic, a guy walked into a what's called a hospoda, which is a little pub, and you don't even hear about it here. He went in there and shot like 14 people. Now, you go into a small restaurant in Arkansas, chances are that there's going to be a concealed carry citizen. You can't go into a restaurant of 50 or 60 people in this town and I know they're packing. I've been trained. I can see it. Mm-hmm. Now, average citizen may not notice it, but I've seen the bottom lip of that little side carry holster. I know exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that. If the person's got a concealed carry and they've been through the training,
yep.
you bet, God bless them. Because if my wife and kids are eating in that establishment and some nut bar clown comes in there and starts blasting, I would love for them to be able to stand up and defend my family. Mm-hmm. And if I'm in an establishment, I go to Little Rock all the time. I travel all the time, and I always have a weapon on me. And if somebody else's family is eating in that restaurant next to my table and some guy comes in there and starts spraying bullets all over the place, I'm going to do my best to kill him. That's just it.
That's it.
And that's
done.
legal, and I think it's morally just and right to do. You don't hear these stories now, these Luby Cafeteria stories anymore in Arkansas, do you? Remember Luby Cafeteria in Texas?
No, I don't.
A guy ran his car through the front of Luby's
yes.
Cafeteria, I think in near Waco, Texas, and killed, my gosh, 15, 20 people? And one lady that was in there had a gun in her purse, and that was when the gun snatchers had the hand up, and they weren't allowed to carry her gun. And she went and testified, I think, before a committee. Said, I had to leave my gun in the car because of you guys, and I could have killed this man before he shot all these people hunkering down under dinner tables. So if you're going to go into Walmart, if you're going to go into any of our local establishments and start indiscriminately shooting people, I would say your time's going to be short, because some concealed carry citizen's going to stop you, and that is as it should be. Now, I can go to England, and if I can get my hand on a gun, which apparently the Muslim terrorists can do,
Sure.
and I can go to, the local Piccadilly cafeteria down there in London and kill as many people as I can until the police show up to stop me or to, stop a suspect. We have the right not to be sheeple, be sheep sitting there, lambs just having dinner, waiting for an armed response to get there, and it may take 15 or 20 minutes. Well, by that time, how many men, women, and children has this guy killed? So, don't talk to me about those, Central European countries. It's not the same thing. The geography's not the same. The population's not the same. It's a joke.
For Sam Siemens right after this. Time for the Handy Update. Be right back. 7:49. Beautiful day.
Yes,
Good
it
to be
is.
back home.
Beautiful.
Nice vacation. A lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we were during the breaks telling Sam some things I found out, and I made a few phone calls once I got home. Obamacare.
Oh, yay.
Obamacare. Okay. Some of the hospitals are doing very well because of Obamacare.
Like in Sweden.
Yeah. But I have a question. I have learned that hospitals that are benefiting due to Obamacare are paying extravagant bonuses to their peoples.
Wow.
Now, we have the private option in Arkansas, which means that we have 231,000 people that don't pay for health insurance. It's free because it falls under the guidelines. My question is, and this is merely a question that we're seeking answers to, and we're working on it as we speak. Let's say, for instance, I drop a bowling ball on my toe and go to ER.
Okay.
That's a $300 fix. Step one, wrap it up. Step two, don't drop the bowling ball on your toe and go home.
Yeah. Pain medicine.
Now, who's policing this? What if they put it down as emergency appendectomy?
That would require, that would be against the law, first of
Who's
all. It'd be
auditing
fraud.
the hospitals in Arkansas?
That I don't know. I don't. That's out of my.
Okay, so if we're supplying tax-funded insurance to people that can't buy it, are the hospitals, and I'm using it plural, I'm not picking on any particular hospital.
Right.
But,
well, I'm not an attorney, but that would clearly be fraud. I mean, if you go in for a broken toe and they charge, charge the insurance company for either an appendix rupture or something else that it's not.
Because appendix rupture can be outpatient at times.
Oh, well, I guess,
it's
I don't know. But I would think that would certainly be, if that was found out, they would have to,
But with the governor calling for the special session next year to determine the private option, I think we, the citizens, need to start right now telling the state legislature if the hospitals are taking tax money as a not-for-profit, then what we need to do is we need to audit the hospitals, and they need to have, what do they call it, when you put everything online.
Yeah, but then you'd have to have somebody, then you're going to have to create some positions. Your government's going to grow because somebody would have, you would have to have, a director or a, somebody to supervise that. I mean, you're talking about, how many hospitals do we have in Arkansas? I don't know, but we have a bunch. That would be... That would be a pretty, that could be a fairly expensive prospect, I would think. But then again, if nobody's monitoring it and charges are being made for services that are not being performed, that could be as quite costly as well. And we know that insurance fraud does happen.
We know for a fact that Obamacare is an honest,
oh yeah,
well thought out plan here.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Belgium. I mean, hey.
All I'm saying is, if you're hospitals around the state are not for profit, which means, oh my goodness, we did make.
Are they all not for profit in Arkansas?
Know. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Because some of these, you're starting to see, because of this Obamacare stuff, you're starting to see, for example, in Texas, I noticed. I went to Houston, last week, and I started seeing these huge billboards. It says, "Emergency room, sit down, be seen." Be evaluated within 5 minutes. Urgent care room, emergency rooms. They're not hospitals. They're just ERs.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's kind of that doc in a box thing. It's competition for. Now I don't know if Arkansas, if we have that. I don't know, but I know that there's like at Walmart, there's that walk-in clinic.
Sure. And
so
it's a good one.
That would be a private thing, I'm sure. But in an emergency, you need to be seen by an emergency room.
Well, I asked about Tennessee. In Tennessee, I said, "What about a doctor that's just wants to do a family practice?" The hospitals are hiring them, so therefore it's taking the free enterprise away from.
Oh yeah, because the reimbursement. I mean, I'm personal friends with a doctor. Close personal friends with him, and he retired early because he was treating patients and using medicines that would cost like $1,500, and then the government wanted to reimburse him $800 or $1,200. Well, you can't stay in business treating people at your cost and not. The reimbursements. I heard on the news the other day that reimbursements are going to go down again. Yeah. Well, how do we expect these healthcare providers, who are good family doctors, who have their own practice and clinic, that's where you take your kid when they have a sore throat or what have you, what's going to happen when the insurance companies legally will only, or Medicaid, Medicare, what have you, will give them, 60% of their customary fee and then only reimburse them, 40% for their services, what they would normally charge a cash-paying patient. Well, I don't see how that's sustainable.
What I'm seeing here is we, the citizens of Arkansas, we know the governor's calling the special session next year concerning private option. Now, if the hospitals are doing an oil company thing of windfall profits, there needs to be some accountability.
Sure.
Yes, they need to make some money. They need to have a reserve. I'm not saying they don't deserve that, but windfall, I'm not. If you're taking taxpayer money, use it wisely. But I think we, the citizens, need to demand of the governor and the legislature an audit of these hospitals, and I want to see transparency.
Sure.
Where's the money going? If you're getting money from the government and it's our money, I want to know where it's going and how it's being spent.
We don't mind them making a living. You just don't want them to make a killing. I mean, That's I think part of
radio is different. I
mean, that's part of what got us. That's part of what got us in this Medicare or this medical care Obamacare overhaul is because there wasn't this kind of oversight, and insurance companies and yes, some private hospitals and physicians really took people to the bank, and but they ended up throwing the baby out with the bathwater, if you ask me. So.
Yeah, I think we, the citizens, and if you're listening to me, North Central Arkansas, get a hold of your state senator, state representative, said, because the task force is meeting now. They're in Little Rock today.
Right.
Contact them, demand the hospitals be audited.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people on this Obamacare right now in the state of Arkansas, and they're not going to know what to do when it goes away.
That wraps it up. We'll be back tomorrow. Time for Rush Morning Update. Follow Beck and Lindbeck. See you tomorrow.
Bye.